Welcome to Beading with Machi Wapakwenyu. I'm your host, Lydia Sturby.
Today we will be making a ceinture fléchée or a Metis Sash Pin, just in time for Manitoba's Festival Du Voyageur. In your kit, you would have received a needle, a bobbin of thread, and just in case your thread begins to fray, just rub it along this heart-shaped beeswax. There's also a special safety pin, a bag with all the beads you will need, which include all of these opaque colors, a piece of glossy vinyl, and a red stiffened felt. You will have a couple of decisions that you need to make today. The first would be, do you prefer to use the pattern that has the Métis flag above the regular sash pattern, or do just the straight pattern all the way through? The second decision is if you would rather skip a single bead at the bottom of the fringe, or do a 3-bead skip making a triangle.
Today I will show you how to do the project with the Métis flag at the top. It does require you to be a bit more precise with your bead placement to help the infinity show through. First, let's start by getting the right length of thread. If you hold the end of the thread in between your thumb and finger and stretch that arm out, unrolling your bobbin all the way to your opposite shoulder, this gives you a good length so as not to overburden your shoulder when beading. Next, I will show you how to tie many knots all at once. This method was taught to me by local Métis artisan Janine Crouchy. Let's begin by placing the long end of your string parallel to your needle. So you can see I've got my tail and my working string on either end through my needle, and then this is my long end of the working string. So I'm going to put that parallel to my needle and wrap it around 4 or 5 times. Then I'm just going to slide those all the way down my needle and keep pulling my thread until it gets to the very end. And there you see I now have those 5 knots all in one space. Now we're ready to begin. So you're going to find the center of your felt, and you're just going to poke through the back close to the top in the middle there. And pull your needle all the way through. And we're going to try to make our line as straight as possible, going right down. So we're going to follow the pattern. It's 2 blue, 2 white, 2 blue. So that's what we're going to start with. I'll just dump my beads out. And we'll get ready to go. 2 blue, 2 white, 2 blue, and then I'm going to continue the middle pattern, which is a blue and white combination. And we're going to do that all the way to the bottom of our felt. So it's not an exact number because it depends on how big your piece of felt was. And it doesn't matter what color I end on, because when I come back in to do the fringe after, I'm going to just continue on where my pattern stopped. I'm going to slide those up, and I still have some room, so I'll go back and grab a few more. Now I'm going to come down through my felt right at the bottom of this column. So I'm going to push through right here. So I'm going to pull, pull, pull. And now it's still kind of loosey and moving around. So to make it stay where I want it, I'm going to do a tacking down process. So every couple of beads, I'm going to come up on one side of the column and go back down on the other side. And what this is going to do is that's going to keep it from moving left and right and keep it in a nice straight line exactly where I want it. So I'm going to do this all the way up every couple of beads. And I'm going to start my next column by just poking back through right next to the first one and following that pattern. So this time it's going to be a blue, white, blue, blue, white, blue. And then for the bottom part of the sash, it is a red and white combination. You can see I've got a little bit of room here. I'm lining up my flag. And I'm just going to go through at the bottom of my column and make sure everything is lined up nicely. And then I'm going to tack that column down. And then I will just continue proceeding to the right until I'm done the whole right side of the flag. Okay, I'm just finishing up my last column here. And now I'm making sure it's nice and tight. Everything's kind of lined up where I want it. And at this point, I'm going to turn it over and I'm going to tie off a little bit here just to keep my tension and everything nice and strong. I'd hate for beadwork to come apart. And this will just keep everything where I want it. Perfect. So I just picked up a little bit of felt and I went through the loop twice, and that gave me 2 knots right where I wanted it. Now I'm going to do the same but reverse on the left side. So I'm just going at the very top to the left of the middle row, and I'm going to do that same pattern, just the opposite, going forward until I'm done the whole left side of the sash pin. So I'm now just finishing up the left side of the sash pin. So I like the way things are looking. I'm just going to flip it over, and I'm going to tie it off like we did on the other side. So picked up a little bit of felt and a stitch if I can, pull it, and then go through that loop 2 times just to make a couple knots in the same spot. Okay. Now you might have noticed that sometimes the very top, the beads want to kind of lay flat like a donut instead of standing up in the columns with the rest of them. So to take care of that, what we're going to do is we want to attach the top beads together so that they keep each other from wanting to lay down. So I'm just going to come over onto the side here, and I'm going to go up the first couple of beads in this column, and then I'm going to come down the next column, and that's going to attach those 2 top ones together and keep them both standing up straight. So I'm just going to move over to the 3rd row and do it again, and I'm going to weave my way across to the very last column the same way. Now I'm making my way to the very last column, and I'm just going to go up. And because it's an odd number, I don't have an extra one to come down through on the right. So I'm just going to go back through the column on the left, the first couple there, and then it'll just be linked to that one. Then I'm going to go through the felt one more time, and I'm going to tie it off again. The reason I tie it off so many times is just to make sure that we're keeping the tension where we want it, and things aren't going to just start getting sloppy and loose. Okay, our next piece is that we're going to now go add our fringe at the bottom. So we're going to make our way to the bottom right away here, and things are going to start to look a little bit different going forward, and your fringes, you're going to have to be careful that you don't keep hooking it as you add more fringes. So I've come up near the bottom like I did at the top, and I'm going to go through the bottom couple of beads. Of course, I'm going to struggle with it a little bit because we're recording. There we go. I missed one, so I'm going to go back and grab that one bead. And now I'm just going to add on, and because this row is all red, I'm just going to add on just the red beads. And you might want to decide to do more or less. It depends on how long you want your fringe. When I'm making this project, I quite often want the same length of fringe as I've done for the top half with the flat stitch. So I'll add it on a bunch, and then I'll measure one versus the other. So yeah, just like that. So I need a few more to make it about the same length. And that looks pretty good. So I'm going to bring it down, and this is where you have to decide if you're going to do the 1 or the 3. And I've decided for this one I'm going to do the 3. So I'm going to add my 3 extra red beads, but leave them further back. Right there. And now I'm going to go up all of the other beads. If you're doing the single bead, you would just skip the very last red one. So I'm going to go up all the beads, and it might take a couple of shots depending on how long your needle is. You might not make it through the fringe all in one sweep. So now I've gone up a couple more red ones in the flat stitch area. Just untangling my triangle here. I like to hold the center bead of the triangle and then slide up from the top, and it works pretty good. And you just might need to play with the tension a little bit. You don't want it to be super stiff, but you don't want it to be loose where you see the strings. So what you're going to do now is you're going to poke back through the felt, and that's just going to keep some tension on that fringe. Now when I come back in a different spot and go down the next column of beads, I'm going to continue on the pattern wherever I stopped. If I need to play with the tension, I can roll it like a Play-Doh snake, and then that usually helps with the tension. Now it's a little bit floppier, and I like it better that way. So I ended on a green, so I'm going to add a red and then keep my pattern going and just measure it out so that it's at the same length as the red one I did before. And you're just going to continue that all the way across. Okay, so I'm just finishing up my very last fringe here, and I'm going to poke back through my felt to the back. I'm going to double check all my tension and just make sure I like where everything's at. And then I'm going to tie off again. Again, that's just going to do it so that I get to keep the tension in each of my fringes the way I like it with my double knot here. And that is the main part of the sash pin. So now what we want to do is we're going to have to trim the sides, but we want to be very careful not to hit any of our strings, and then everything's going to kind of come apart. All our hard work is going to kind of come apart. So be very careful how you trim it. And so I'm happy with that. Now I'm going to take my backing, and I like to put it in a corner and line up the bottom and one side, and then I only have to make 2 cuts to make it fit. So we're going to just do our 2 cuts real quick here to make it fit. And that's just garbage. Next, you're going to lay this down. Just trying to untangle my thread here, of course. And we want to come through the back here. Make sure I still have string attached. If you don't, that's okay. Make sure when you remove the back now, you keep it so that the top is the top. If you start rotating your piece of fabric, it's not going to fit properly anymore. Now grab a pen or a pencil or something to mark the backing. And you want to mark just inside the needle coil to the left of it, and then just inside the little piece where the needle actually goes in, the safety part of it. And you're going to see why you want it just inside there, so it's going to sit properly. Then I fold it in half and I just put a little snip. And that's just going to make sure that my pin is going to be centered in my piece. Now, depending on what kind of safety pin you have in the kit, because there are different kinds sometimes, you might have to maneuver, but it's easier to put in the safety side first. And yes, I have to kind of go at a funky angle for this one and just kind of push it through and rotate it. And then the second side is the needle just getting it through. Now the part on this side is you need to get it up and over the smaller piece of the needle so that it can properly open. And now your vinyl will sit just inside those 2 pieces. And of course I close the safety pin, so as I'm beating the edging, I'm not going to poke myself. I like to use a little bit of E6000 glue just to keep that from shifting too much if I've made too big of slits or it kind of got moved a bit when I did my pushing it through. As you can see, this is a well-used bottle. Now I'm going to put it back on the correct way, and we're going to start our edging. No, depending where your string is coming out, that's just where I begin my edging. It doesn't matter what corner or side. It's going to go all the way around anyways. So I usually go from between the white side of the vinyl to the glossy side to get started. So I'm going out the back. If you're starting a fresh string, this will help you hide your knot. From there, you're going to grab one red bead, and I always go from glossy side to the front now, and you're going through both layers. Make sure you get the vinyl and the felt going forward now. And now I'm going to come back up the side that's going clockwise. So the right hand side, that's the way I go. If you are left-handed, you might choose to go counterclockwise now. Next time, you are going to want it to lay flat like a donut on a plate now. So the first one sometimes struggles to lay flat until you add the second bead. So 1 bead, and then you're going to go back to front and pull through, and then you're going to go back through the right side of that bead, the side closest to the felt. And you'll see that there's just a little string up top holding the two beads together now. And that should help them lay a little bit flatter like donuts. And as we make our way all the way around, eventually it's going to be easier. You're going to do that all the way in a counter or in a clockwise motion. Try not to get your fringe stuck or stuck on in your own loop. So just be careful as you're doing it. And come back up through your bead. As I get to the base here, because these fringes like to get in the way, I tend to want to hold the fringes out of my way. So you're going to see me as I rotate around this bottom corner. Now I'm going to hold these fringes down so they're out of my way. Then I'm less likely to get them stuck. So I'm going to continue with this one bead method all the way around until I get to the top right corner of my project where I do something a little bit different. So I'm going to speed it up now. Okay, now that I'm in this top right hand corner, what I want to do is I'm going to actually do a zipper stitch. So I'm going to put 2 red beads on, and I'm going to go back to front just like we did before. And this time when I come back through a bead, I'm just going to go through the second bead. What this is going to do is it's going to make the first bead that I put on stand up like it's higher, but the second bead sit down like a donut, just like the flat around the rest of it. This just makes the corner look a little bit sharper and stand out a little bit nicer. So I'm going to continue flat beads till I get to the other corner, and then I'll do another zipper stitch, and then I'll continue on flat beading to the very beginning. Okay, so I've made my way around here, and now what I want to do is I want to connect the 2 pieces together. So I'm going to do my very last red bead and come up just like I did before. But now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go down that very first bead, and that's just going to connect the 2 pieces together. As I do that, I'm going to pick up a little bit of the felt and come out the very back. Now you're going to see 3 strings right next to each other on the very back there. So to close it off, instead of trying to grab, because there's no felt here and you don't really want to go through the vinyl, you're going to grab those 3 strings and then you're going to do your loop twice there and pull tight. And that's going to put your 2 knots. And then because this is our final piece, I'm going to do that a second time. So grabbing that first set of knots that I made, and I'm going to do a double loop and pull that tight. When I'm satisfied, I'm going to snip it, and then I'm just going to be very careful and use my lighter to burn the thread and melt it so that the knot can't come undone, and I always use the metal to do that. And there you go, that is our Metis Sash Pin. Merci for joining me today, and I hope you had fun, because I sure did.